Hollow Knight left its mark on the gaming landscape. This title arguably became the John Wick of Metroidvanias, redefining the way developers and players approach the genre. With Silksong taking considerable amount of time in its development stage, the player base got hungry for similar experiences. A phenomenon known to MMORPG fans looking for that next big MMO. You could say that the zombie survival enthusiasts struggle with the same issue. Desperately clinging to any experience offering open world, multiplayer gameplay, ignoring even the most obvious red flags. With great success comes a slew of derivative projects, which is so true for Hollow Knight. Just look at the various announced or released games which clearly take elements from Team Cherry's title. I'm not necessarily claiming that it's a bad thing. On the contrary, looking up to industry's leaders is understandable. The thing is, you should refine on their ideas, add something new to your projects, push the boundaries of the gaming landscape, or at least offer a distinctive, flavorful experience. That's where Gleamlight comes in. The game clearly bears resemblance to Team Cherry's title. Unfortunately, Hollow Knight's effect can be both a blessing and a curse. Gamers compare every similar game to Team Cherry's Juggernaut. What if the game is not even supposed to fall in the same bracket or niche? I will try to answer this and several other questions in the video. This is the late review Gleamlight. This review is based on 4.5 hours spent in game, which can already tell that this is a very short title. I managed to finish the game 4 times. 3 of those playthroughs are built within the intended game progression and offer slightly varied experiences. I'll explain it later. This is a review of the PC version played on mouse and keyboard. As a completionist, I usually try to get 100% achievement completion. In this case, I managed to acquire 28 out of 30 achievements, which translates into 93% achievement completion. With all that being said, let's thoroughly analyze the game. The world of Gleamlight impresses with its distinct art style. Every element of the environment is cut out like a stained glass window, a symbol evoking the grandeur of something deeper, more meaningful. It's spectacular. Imaginative graphics attract attention, becoming the most recognizable element of the game. There's a great deal of work and detail put into Gleamlight's look. The glimmering parts of the stained glass or the light timidly breaking through it. Developers were not afraid to play with light sources and incorporating it to highlight important elements of the environment. Red glowing crystals are a clear indicator of danger. Player's character brings radiance to shining, leafy overgrown zones, which then slowly change to rocky corridors. The environments evolve into luminous crystal mines, which then get exchanged into more advanced decorative structures or even robotic facilities, all kept within the impressive stained glass art style. The music of Gleamlight consists of very few tracks, presenting mostly soothing, calm ambient pieces. Then there is a combat track, reserved for boss fights. Unfortunately, every boss encounter uses the same music. Still, this is an indie title, so I do not expect a huge library of music tracks. The soundtrack fits the game, and that's what counts. Gleamlight does not have any voice acting. In fact, there is zero communication in the game's world, so telling a story falls even harder into the game's visual presentation. Even with its beautiful, distinct visual art style, Gleamlight still resembles Hollow Knight. Thick outlines, vibrant colors, the look of the characters and their surroundings. Even the way the protagonist swings the sword should look very familiar to Hollow Knight veterans. Unfortunately, with certain similarities come expectations. This is where Gleamlight's stained glass starts to break. Turns out Gleamlight is much different game from Hollow Knight. For an indie title, it works well, zero crashes, unwanted pop-outs or anything alike. The simplicity of the game strikes out as soon as player checks the settings. They are extremely limited. Keyboard configuration looks downright depressing, with just movement keybinds, then jump and attack button. The initial feeling is rough. Fortunately, this is sort of a fake out, as the game does not show keybinds for additional abilities until they are unlocked in the playthrough. It's also worth mentioning that Gleamlight does not support mouse. If you don't use a controller, then you'll play on the keyboard only. The simplistic controls show the first crack in Gleamlight's radiant glass, the plainness of the gameplay. As soon as players start the game, they find out that their options are heavily limited. Some people might claim that it's part of the course for Metroidvanias or platformers. You know, player is supposed to unlock new combat techniques and abilities like double jump, dash, etc. Okay, even aforementioned Juggernaut Hollow Knight does the same. Try playing through fresh run after completing the game. The Barebones Knight feels like such a slog to play. The thing is that Hollow Knight still has the snappy, responsive controls, the nail attack mechanics which allow you to bounce off other objects, sound mechanics and depth which is a solid foundation to build on. Gleamlight's foundation is so broken it shatters its beautiful stained glass visuals. Our character is slow to react. Dancing around enemies trying to bait out an attack in order to counterattack feels clunky. The protagonist is also slow to turn, sometimes attacking in the wrong direction, which is infuriating, especially while fighting against those big robots hiding behind shield. Getting around them with quick backstab is how they should be defeated. But that's not the biggest flaw of the game. The greatest flaw of Gleamlight is the combat system, which is compromised by its own design. You see, in the game, there's no health bar for our character. Our health is represented by the glow of our robes and hat. Vibrant colors symbolize good health, while bleak, darker shades represent the damaged character. This principle is true for both the protagonist and the enemies. The dynamic of the combat relies on trading gradients while damaging opponents. So, by damaging an enemy, our character regains its own color. It's a cool concept on paper. Regrettably, it got implemented really bad in Gleamlight. Each time our character is struck, it enters an invulnerable state for a second or two. During that time, players can still spam attacks, which means that they can regain health while they are still invulnerable. So essentially, the combat ends up being a spam fest, where our character becomes near immortal with zero tactics and care for opponent attacks. So my main problem is that right now I am nigh unkillable. Just as long as I'm gonna be attacking anything, they just can't do anything to me. It took me a moment to realize this, as at first I was trying to dodge every enemy attacks, playing the game like Dark Souls, where I tried to remember attack patterns of each foes. It was the first boss that made me realize how brainless the combat is. After that, it got even worse. Even though Steam tags suggest that Gleamlight is a Metroidvania, it's not. This is a platformer in the purest, most old-school way imaginable. Well, you can add a little action affix to it, as there is a lot of combat. But we already established that combat is broken. Gleamlight does not have any collectibles, pickups or objects which could be gathered. The only reason to explore the map are the red orbs, which need to be destroyed in order to open gates, blocking further passage. That's it! And there are a lot of red orb gates, which means that this mechanic is continuously repeated. Outside of that, there is nothing else to be found in the luminous stained glass world of Gleamlight. Right away, the radiance of the visuals got a little bit more bleak, dare I say. Without meaningful exploration, the only way to upgrade our character is by defeating bosses. After defeating the mightiest of foes, the protagonist unlocks a new ability. Those are a very standard skills which can be found in similar games. Dash with invincibility frames allowing to dodge attacks or roll through the enemies. Double jump which can be then upgraded further into triple jump. Players can unlock charged up stronger strike with greater range or triple attack combo. The unfortunate reality is, it doesn't matter. The combat system is still broken. Spamming attacks is all it takes to get through the game. I don't know how or why nobody picked up on it during playtests. Combat design undermines any effort put into enemy attack patterns. Various foes use specific attacks which could add some depth into combat. Cool thing is that I have to attack the crystal thing. The bad thing is that I'm almost... As long as I'm attacking, he can do nothing to me. bosses also show semblance of advanced attack patterns. Not all of them are well designed. Later versions of flying robot boss are hard to hit, unnecessarily prolonging the fight. Still, there is clearly some care put into boss fight design. Maybe the system could somehow work if player's character kept the base HP pool. At the start of our journey, the protagonist breaks into pieces after receiving damage 3 times. With each defeated boss and ability gained, the durability of player's character gets increased. It can get to ridiculous levels of toughness where it's almost impossible to even hurt the protagonist. Can you finally kill me maybe? Come on, dude. Come on. I'm getting darker and darker. This feature, the progressive increases to player's HP, works directly at odds with another gameplay mechanic. Each time player's character jumps or dashes, a small sliver of their HP is lost. I'm not entirely sure what's the point of that. I can only speculate that it's introduced to force players to be more aware of their surroundings. You know, to provoke decision making during boss fights and counteract the blind jump and dash spams. Or maybe it's just an immersive feature, strengthening the bond between player's character and the world. Each jump breaks the stainless glass bit by bit. This mechanic gets devalued as soon as player attacks an opponent and gets all of the health back. Later in the adventure, when player's HP gets incredibly high, this entire mechanic becomes irrelevant. Well, it actually shines in one single situation, but I doubt it's the intended outcome. I'll explain in a minute or two. Gleamlight is constructed in an odd way. Your first playthrough is going to be extremely short. After a very brief journey and several boss fights, player is greeted by the end screen and credits. Only that, it's a fake-out ending. Gleamlight's story evolves through multiple playthroughs, which change the world of the game. Unfortunately, the second run does not add any new zones. It just tasks players to backtrack to the starting location of the first run, adding new monsters to the existing zones, respawning and slightly upgrading some bosses, as well as adding few new boss encounters. It's when you backtrack through zones populated with more enemies that you can appreciate the level design. Previously empty cages are now populated with robots, making getting back much harder. Developers leave additional, risky paths for players who wish to skip enemies, instead challenging their platforming skills. It's good. Regrettably, this is the same map, the same zones. The ideal way of approaching the subject would be to add 1 or 2 new zones per rerun to avoid boredom. Especially since combat is also not very engaging. After completing the second run, developers' lack of experience comes to light. There is still some content to unlock, but figuring out how to access it is extremely convoluted, which leads me to the narrative discussion. Developers describe Gleamlight's narrative as an unspoken story, tasking players to discover and piece together the events of the game. There are no spoken lines, no written pages, nothing. Let's be honest, for the majority of the casual audiences, the game's story will be non-existent or inconsequential. More engaged players will still find many difficulties with understanding Gleamlight. So here is my understanding of the story. And bear in mind that's only speculation, because the narrative is open-ended. I am going to spoil various runs, so this is your spoiler warning. If you don't want to spoil the game for yourself, skip to the next section. Timestamps are in the description. The first run is an introduction to the game. Our protagonist slowly advances through the changing stained glass environments, defeating various foes. Then we cross paths with weird shadowy figure. Defeating this foe marks the end of the first playthrough. Players are greeted with the fake-out credits screen, only to be thrown back into the game. This time, the world is populated with stronger mechanical enemies. The last boss of the second playthrough, the Demolisher of the human world, releases toxic gas after being defeated. Done. What now? This poison should kill your character, thus ending the second run. only that my character had so much HP that I wasn't even sure if the poison affected me. I waited and waited for the gas to do its thing. And then, after almost giving up, I decided to use the game mechanic, which before was pretty meaningless, but for this singular situation it proved helpful. I started dashing and jumping, losing small amounts of HP. I had to help the game kill my character. I don't know if my high HP was a glitch or a bug, but it was ridiculous. So what happens then? You reload your save only to be greeted with destroyed poisoned world where you are unable to respawn. Your character is dead. The only legacy of yours is the spawned child. This point it really gets on my nerves. What am I supposed to do? There are two swords. S. Should I spam S? A doesn't do nothing, B doesn't do nothing. I suspect that at this exact point, most players gave up playing. With your only save slot being kinda corrupted, no ability to create new character without deleting previous save slot, I got rid of my previous run and started anew. Only this time, your character retains previous improvements. I retained all my power-ups. Cool. At this point, I was confused enough to look at the guide. You see, you can continue playing the game as you did before, but you will not unlock the true good ending. In order to unlock the good ending, you have to get to the dark one without killing ghosts. Guide told about a full pacifist run excluding bosses, but I have a feeling that it's more about ghosts, not robots. And here are the sword memories. The achievements come in handy to understand the plot. You see, you can get separate achievements for defeating so-called ghosts and machines. Ghosts are the more organic, greyish figures, while machines are all of the other mechanic enemies. So it tells you that there is a narrative difference. Facing the dark being without killing unnecessary minions make him refrain from attacking the player. Instead, the boss opens a pathway to previously inaccessible zone. In here we fight against this huge machine, the singularity of all. After defeating it, our character is taken to surface by grayed out, similarly looking characters. There we have to venture back to the first area of the game, this time illuminated with a blinding light. It's here that we have to somehow figure out that we can release previously summoned child. We do it from the menu. Again, convoluted. It makes our character turn white and the game ends. So you can see that there are so many weird requirements to even get to the point of the true ending. It's all hidden within deleting saves, rerunning the game, doing pacifist runs, and then getting into menu to finally complete the game properly. All of that in a game with broken fundamentals. But aside from that, what is this unspoken story trying to say? If you are making such an open-ended narrative, then I guess you should be fine with different interpretations. Here is mine. I think this is a story of a broken civilization. A civilization too deeply relying on technology, which led to its downfall. The first run shows the unrest. Ghosts represent corruption within people who are not able to break the scheme. Machines control the everyday life. It's with the second run where we learn that by going actively against other humans, by defeating the dark being, we achieve nothing. Later, by going against the demolisher of the human world, we spread the toxic gas to eventually kill everything. So, this is not the right way. The summoning of the child represents a new generation of survivors, this time armed with knowledge of their predecessors. So it's expected to learn from the past and unite the ghosts, endure the hardships and show them the way. This is the pacifist run. The true ending refers to transferring the knowledge to future generations. That's what I got from it. Storytelling is incredibly vague, so your understanding of it might be different. If so, let me know your interpretation. Anyway, this exercise that I just did, thinking about what I experience in a game, is such a rare occurrence. For that, Gleamlight and its story deserve praise. It's a shame that the whole process is extremely convoluted. Throughout the review, I made multiple comparisons between Gleamlight and Hollow Knight. It's not accidental. At first glance, both games look similar. This is the part of Hollow Knight's legacy, the astounding effect it left on the Metroidvania and action platformer genres. Every game which looks even slightly similar will be judged by Hollow Knight lenses. Well, look at Steam reviews. At the time of making this video, Gleamlight sits at a score of only 39% positive reviews out of barely over 100 user opinions. So, two things. Majority of the gamers who experience Gleamlight wouldn't recommend it. And the second thing, with very few reviews, we can deduce that the game is not popular. I have read all of the reviews and also checked the community hub for Gleamlight. The major discussion and the main points of contention are the similarities to Hollow Knight. Various players felt betrayed by Gleamlight's developers, expecting something similar to Team Cherry's title. I wasn't paying attention to the marketing process, so I cannot say with full conviction that developers tried to capitalize on Hollow Knight's success and gull the player base. On the contrary, there is a lot of care and dedication put into Gleamlight's aesthetics, environments, and very subtle storytelling. Bah, even the enemy design and their attack patterns show that some effort and thought was put into them. Where Deco failed the most is at the fundamentals of their gameplay design, namely combat, plus few other issues which swell to greater importance. Such is the opinion of the vast majority of Steam reviewers. Many negative opinions, not referring to Hollow Knight, state that they can see the light in the tunnel, all of the good sides, but unfortunately Gleamlight is too flawed. This stained glass window is shattered. People discussing game's strong points or advantages universally praise the art style. Music also got some love. Few gamers argue the same thing I'm saying. Gleamlight should be treated as its own project, not Hollow Knight's clone. In that light, the game looks better. But is better enough? I guess everyone should draw their own conclusions. Gleamlight offers 30 achievements for the player to unlock. They are mostly tied to defeating bosses, as they become those milestones in our journey. The game itself tracks the achievements but refers to them as the sword memories. This way, I started to perceive trophies as the guidelines for my in-game progression. With the vague, figure it out yourself plot and inconsistent gameplay mechanics, it's really hard to figure out what to do. So after starting each new playthrough, if I kept getting new achievements, it meant that I'm on the right way. Of course, it means that completionists will have to start multiple playthroughs, preferably with the guide at hand. This game is just so vague, unclear and at some points nonsensical. Trying to figure out it all by yourself is a daunting task. Especially since, yet again, the gameplay mechanics are directly at odds with few of the achievements. After going for your pacifist non-ghost killing run, if you want to get the achievement for killing the dark being, you have to start yet another run. Outside of the trophies unlocked through the natural progression, or in this case unnatural progression, there are few achievements awarded for killing certain amount of ghosts and machines. If you are not skipping enemies, then you'll get these without any additional effort. The one that requires a lot of effort is the next body achievement. Asking player to die 100 times in a game when it's so hard to die is a cruel joke. Thankfully for me, I always get a glimpse of the achievement requirements before starting to play a game, just as a sort of preparation. In this case, I remembered the 100 deaths challenge, so I died a lot of times at the start of my Gleamlight journey. Praise the flying spaghetti monster for that. Trying to die during your second or third run is such a pain. Player's character has just too much health. At some points, it literally feels like the character is immortal. And guess what? Even if you delete the save file and start anew, your progress and massive HP still persists. This is a horror game for completionists. Thankfully, I had to die just a few times during later stages of the game, so I completed this challenge. If I hadn't farmed deaths before, I wouldn't have bothered. There are 2 achievements which I haven't completed though. Master of Heavens and Earth requires to defeat Annihilator. It also gives you a new power. So by not finding the boss, I actually missed one final ability, the invert skill. It reversed the gravity of the entire environment around our character. The problem is, I don't have any idea how to find Annihilator. On my 4th run, I was searching through the whole world with the child summoned and couldn't find the boss. This is not a popular game, so there are very few guides. And at this point I just decided that I had enough. 93% achievement completion is okay. If you have found Annihilator and consequently got the last achievement, then feel free to comment and tell other people where to look for it. Hollow Knight might be Gleamlight's greatest curse. Developer Deco created a beautiful stained glass graphic style for their platformer. Only that on the very first look it's reminiscent of Hollow Knight, which can create specific expectations. The truth is that Gleamlight plays nothing like Hollow Knight. It's much more simplified, shorter, without any Metroidvania elements. It's an action platformer with a very basic gameplay formula. The problems arise with various in-game mechanics being directly at odds with each other. The so-called unspoken story might feel like narrative is non-existent. Gleamlight tries to convey its plot through presentation. Unfortunately, the inconsistent gameplay focusing on backtracking and reruns of the game makes it really hard to get engaged. The poorly designed combat system is the final nail in the coffin. It devoids Gleamlight of any challenge and depth. I see glimpses of passion and artistry within Deco's team of developers. I'm going to pay attention to their future projects. Regrettably, as for Gleamlight, I do not recommend this game. Hey, I wanted to thank you for watching this video till the end. If you liked it and wish to see more, leave a like and subscribe. Maybe write a comment about your thoughts regarding Gleamlight. If you didn't like the video, then by all means, let me know what you didn't like. I'm open for criticism. I also want to thank my wife Monica for helping me with video and sound editing. My question to you after this video is: what are your boundaries regarding a decision whether a game is worthy of your time or not? What kind of feature the game like Gleamlight should have to spark your interest? So that's all from me. Bye.